everyone, Kendall here with Lousy Llama Creations. Today we're going to be making this little bird. This is a beginner-friendly pattern, and for supplies you're going to need medium weight for yarn in yellow and brown, 8mm safety eyes, stuffing, tapestry needle, a 5mm crochet hook, stitch markers, and scissors. Let's jump right in and start making our bird. So we're going to start with our yellow yarn, and we're going to start by making a magic ring or a magic circle. It's the same thing. I'm going to take my crochet hook. I have my yarn. This is our tail, our dead end, the end of your yarn. This is the yarn that's attached to the ball or the skein. You're going to take it and wrap it around your hand to form an X. You're going to hold it in the middle. Hook goes under, then over, and we're going to scoop this underneath. Just like that. We're going to twist it up and pull it off our hands. And then do this thing called a chain, which is when we pull our yarn through our loop. So I'm going to put the yarn on the crochet hook and pull through. And that's our magic ring. But let me show you again. I have my tail, wrap around to make an X, hold in the middle, under, over, pull through, twist up, and then do our chain. We're then going to make 6 single crochets in this loop. Our single crochets are one of the smallest, most basic stitches of crochet. You'll find it in tons of the stuffed animal or amigurumi patterns. Crocheters love single crochets. To do one, you're going to insert your hook in the middle of the loop, yarn over, which is when we place the yarn on top of the hook, pull through. So we have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over again, and then pull through both loops. And that's 1 single crochet. So again, I'm going to go through the middle, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both loops, and that's a second. Through the middle, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both. That was stitch 3. So I'm going to do 4, 5, and 6. Each stitch is this little V, little oval. Can't see it too well on the sides. If I pull it apart a little bit, you can see that's a stitch. I'm going to take my tail and pull it so that it actually forms this cute little ring. And now we have the start of our crochet piece. These are our stitch markers, which are like little clothespin, safety pin looking things. Safety pins, not clothespins. Looking things. We're going to attach it into the last stitch that we made, that V. Close it up. This is going to help us find the beginning and the end when we're working in our rounds. Because we're going to be working in a spiral, so we're just going to keep on going around and around and around. So this will make sure we know the beginning and the end of each round. Our magic ring with the 6 single crochets, that was 1 round. So now we're going on to round 2, which according to our pattern says increase 6 times. An increase is just 2 single crochets next to each other. So we have 6 stitches. At the end of round 2, we should have 12. So we're going to put 2 stitches in each of the 6. So we have 12, so we're just doubling it. I'm going to insert my hook into the first stitch that we made. The first one's always a little tight. It's not you, it's the crochet piece. Just kind of wiggle, stick it in. I'm going to yarn over and pull through. Yarn over, pull through again. So I have one single crochet. Before we move on, I'm going to stick my crochet hook in the same stitch and do another single crochet. So now we have 2 in 1 stitch. I like to picture it like a little flower, so we have like a small beginning, but then we want even petals on the side, so it kind of gets bigger evenly. I'm going to move to the next stitch. Again, I'm working in a spiral, so I'm literally just scooting over and do another increase. So that's 1 single crochet, and then in the same hole, doing a second. And then I'll do that again. And again. Moving over. I'm in my last one, and this is my cat Cashew. He likes to help with videos sometimes. I'm sure his sister Peanut's gonna help too. I'm gonna take out my stitch marker. I'm gonna do our increase. And then I'm gonna put the stitch marker back in to the new end of the round. So we're kind of moving it up each time. And now we have this small little circle, which is round 1 and round 2. You should have 12 single crochets at the end of this round. And you can count them by looking at those V's. Grab my tapestry needle. So like that's 1, 2, 3, 4. You can do this all the way around, so you have 12. The next round, round 3, it says we're going to do a single crochet and then an increase. And there's a comma in that bracket, which is important. So in the next stitch, we're going to do 1 single crochet. And then we're done with that. In the next stitch, that comma means we're moving over. We're going to be doing an increase, which is again those 2 single crochets. So this repetition for the round is a little series of 3. 1 and then an increase. Or in my head, sometimes I'll say double. So 1 and then a double. And we're going to repeat this. So the next stitch, we're going to do 1. And then the next stitch, a double or an increase. And we're going to do this for the whole round. So 1 and then a double. One, then a double. And I know I'm crocheting fast. Hey, I've done it since I was 14 years old. Don't forget, 1, pause this video. I will still be here for you. As well as that in the corner, the little gears button, you can change the speed. So yeah, I'll sound a little funny, but you can watch me slow down these stitches and it might be a little easier. You can see at the end, I removed my stitch marker, did my last increase, and then I'm going to put it back. And our circle's getting a little rounder, a little bigger. You can tell it kind of curls up a little bit. That's okay. That's normal. No biggie. If it's curling up a lot, you might have messed up the pattern a little bit. You might have put too many increases. So you might want to take it out and kind of make sure you're counting. At the end of this row, you should have 18. Another thing to remember, this is our tail from that very beginning magic ring. This is the inside. So if you're looking at it and you're like, mine's kind of ugly. My stitches aren't clean, this tail's in the way. What am I doing? Boop, just turn it around. If you followed my tutorial for my crochet plants, a lot of people will show me their crocheted pot and they'll be like, hey, mine's ugly and it doesn't sit weird and it sits super weird and it's off. And then I'm like, flip it inside out. Boom. They did amazing work and they did it right. You just gotta flip it around. Next round, you're gonna start seeing a pattern here. It says 2 single crochets and then an increase. So single crochet 2 is different than an increase. So we're gonna do 1, 1, and then an increase. In newer crochet patterns, as in the past 10 years, you'll notice the word increase. Sometimes people use 2 single crochets instead. I find that confusing. If you follow any Lousy Llama crochet patterns, I will always say increase versus single crochet 2. If I'm saying single crochet 2, I mean 1 and then 1 and then an increase. Well, let's not get confusing here. So we're gonna do 1, 1, and then an increase. One, 1, and then an increase. And we'll do this for the whole round. One, 1, increase. One, 1, increase. 1, 1, take out the marker, increase. And then put it back in. And now we have a bigger circle. Again, you can see mine curving a little bit. That's okay. Okay, I'm at the end of the round. And now instead of doing more increases, we're going to do rounds of single crochets. So a little tip, instead of putting this through the stitch like we normally do, I'm actually going to put it on the side of the stitch. That way we don't have to move it every single round. This works when we're doing 1 single crochet in every stitch. Not so much when you're doing something precise like 2 single crochets and then an increase, because you want that to be really exact. But for this, it's okay if it's not. So we're not gonna do any increases. We're just gonna do 5 rounds of single crochet. So you're literally just gonna do 1 single crochet in every single stitch. We'll do this for 5 rounds, but I'll show you when we get around to the stitch marker how we're kind of ignoring it and continuing on. This also works because we're crocheting in a spiral instead of joining for each round. We just continuously keep on working. All right, coming around, I'm not going to move my stitch marker. I'm just continuing to crochet. See? And now I can see I did 1. So I'm going to go around 5 times and it sort of lines up with the stitch marker. So go ahead and single crochet for 5 rounds. Okay, this was 5 rounds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See, I kind of lined it up with the stitch marker. Now I'm going to take this out and put it back in our stitch because our next round is going to be more precise like we did earlier. The next round is going to be 3 single crochets and then an increase. So similar to the 2 single crochets and then an increase, but with 3. So we'll do 1, 2, 3, and then an increase. And we'll repeat that for a total of 6 times all the way around. 1, 2, 3, increase. 2, 3, increase. I also want to take a note here, if my piece looks bigger than yours, I'm using some spare yarn I have, which I believe is a little different than the yarn you have in your kits. This yarn is feeling very stiff today. I'm not exactly sure why. But if you're like, mine's coming out smaller, don't worry, that's completely normal. This is just really stiff today. Okay, coming around the end, taking out our marker, doing the last increase. Yeah, it looks so big. My sample was not this big. Now I'm gonna put my stitch marker on the side again, because we're gonna be doing more rounds of single crochet, if I can get it. We are gonna do 6 rounds of single crochets. So just 1 single crochet in every stitch for a total of 6 rounds. Now you can see our piece is starting to actually look like a bird, or at least a blob, which I think birds look like. We're gonna add our eyes. So I'm just gonna set my hook aside just so it's out of the way. I have my 8mm safety eyes and backs. 1, oh my goodness, 2. We're gonna place them between rounds 4 and 5, about 4 stitches apart. So I'm gonna start at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. Put them between row 4 and 5, about 4 stitches apart. 1, 2, 3, 4. And sort of wiggled in. There we go. I'm gonna hold off putting the backs on just yet, because I'm actually gonna stop and crochet the beak and place it just so we can know that our eyes are exactly where we want them. So I'm gonna set our bird aside and get my brown yarn for the beak. So for our beak, we are just gonna do a magic ring with 6 single crochets. So it's gonna be the exact same way you started the body. So go ahead and pause this video and go back to the beginning if you need to. But you're gonna take your tail, wrap around to form an X, under, over, through, tighten and do our chain 1. And then our 6 single crochets. Again, I know I showed that fast. Please go back to the beginning of the video if that was too fast for you. That's where I did it step by step, nice and slow. Have my 6 single crochets. I'm gonna tighten, and that's our whole beak. I'm gonna leave quite a bit of room so I have room to sew. Cut our yarn and do this thing called fastening off. After we cut the yarn, we simply pull our loop all the way through so it's not a loop anymore. And now our piece isn't really going to come undone unless we try. For this bird, I'm kind of pinching it a little bit. And I'm going to take my sewing needle, my tapestry needle, and I'm actually going to sew it together so it forms a more pointed beak. So this is like the bottom. I'm going to little taco it, and I'm just going to sew the bottom. If you hear a cat whining in the background, that is Peanut shut out of the room because she was being a little too into my business while filming this video. She's a huge fan of birds. She likes to sit in the windows and watch them. Okay, just like that. So now we have like this little blob. I'm gonna put my other yarn just so my tails are like right next to each other, so it's a little easier to sew. I'm not gonna sew right now, but I'm gonna make sure that my eyes are properly spaced apart. So if you want your eyes a little closer, a little further apart, I think that looks good. So let's set this aside. I'm gonna put my backs on. I put my little washers on and click. Washers on and click. Push it back out. And we gotta finish sewing the body and doing our decreases. So an increase is 2 single crochets in 1 stitch. So if you can imagine, a decrease is combining 2 single crochets into 1. or 2 any stitches, but for this project it's going to be single crochets. Move my stitch marker back up because we want to be exact again. We're going to repeat the same thing backwards. So our last round of increases was 3 single crochets increase. Now we're going to do 3 single crochets decrease. So I'm going to do 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and then a decrease. For a decrease, I'm going to insert my hook, yarn over, pull through, kind of like the beginning of a single crochet. Instead of finishing it off, I'm going to insert my hook into the stitch next to it. Yarn over, pull through, so you have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through all 3. Because you're combining 2 stitches, you'll want to make sure you pull a little extra tight when you're making it, just because you're literally pulling your crochet piece closer together. And if they're loose, you'll see the stuffing. So I'll do my 3 single crochets again. 1, 2, 3, and then decrease, insert, yarn over, pull through, insert into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, so you have 3 loops, yarn over, pull through all 3. And you're going to repeat this for the round. So 1, 2, 3, decrease, 1, 2, 3, decrease, 1, 2, 3, decrease, 1, 2, 3, and then our very last decrease for the round. The next round is going to be 2 single crochets and then a decrease. So 1, 2, decrease, all the way around, pulling nice and tight. 1, 2, decrease, 1, 2, decrease, 1, 2, decrease, 1, 2, decrease, and 1, 2, taking out our marker, decrease. Next round is probably what you would have guessed, 1 single crochet and then a decrease. I know it's getting tight, it's getting stiff, but you are physically pulling your piece together, so hang in there, it's okay. This takes a little bit getting used to. 1 single crochet and then a decrease. Decreases was something that took me a little bit to master as a beginner. They used to be really loose, so you can like see all my stuffing. It takes a lot to like remember to tighten your tension and do things a little differently. That's okay. One of the cool parts about this project is that the decreases are on the bottom. So if your top is pretty, no one's really gonna see the bottom, especially if you have it displayed on like a little shelf or something, or on your desk. No one really sees it. Okay. 1 more decrease. Okay, we're gonna pause here for a sec and we're actually gonna stuff our little bird. I have my pouch of stuffing. We're not gonna need all of this. The best stuffing technique is to pull apart into small clumps and place it individually. That way you kind of have control over the shape. And it also uses less stuffing. If you just ball the whole thing up, you'll use all the stuffing, but you actually don't really need it, especially if you want it to remain nice and fluffy. So I'm just going to keep on pulling small clumps. Obviously placing at the head first, because that's further away. And then the body. I want my bird Blitz to be as round as possible. So I'm going to stuff him extra on the sides. I'm also, you can tell when I'm stuffing, I kind of pull my working yarn away. If you stuff it inside, that's fine. You'll just have to pull it out, and that might pull out some of the stuffing. So it's just kind of easier if you pull it around before. Okay, he's getting there. It's looking like a little pill, or looks like a peep, really, is what it looks like. Well, we don't got peeps here. He is Blitz the bird, so he's gonna have to look like a bird. I'm shaping him, kind of forming his neck a little bit more. Yeah, I'm really happy with that. Cute. Yeah, see, this is all the extra stuffing. You'll have extra stuffing. On the bottom, we need to do 6 decreases. The bottom is difficult. The last round of decreases is usually difficult. It's hard to see, and you might skip some stitches, and that's okay. We're just gonna try to get 6 decreases. If you don't, that is a-okay. And you'll just close it up a different way. So I'm gonna do 1. I kind of pinch mine, even though we worked so hard on the shaping. We'll fix it at the end, because it's easier for me to get my hook into my stitches. So my second decrease out of 6. 3. Oh yeah, it's tight. 4. 5. Oh, I think that's all I got right now. I don't think I can fit the 6th one because of how tight it is, and that's okay. The hole's still pretty small. I'm gonna fasten off, so cut that nice long tail. Pull our loop through, and we're gonna sew up the bottom. So if your bottom's a little gappy, has some spaces in it, no big deal. You can fix it now. Put my tail on my needle. And you can close the bottom however you want. I like doing it the cinch closure way, which means I'm going to go in all the stitches on the outside and pull tight. Just like that, and pull. I'm going to add a knot just so it doesn't come undone. Slide my knot all the way to the end. Boom. Now we don't just want to cut our yarn because it can come undone. We're going to do this thing called hiding our tails. With a 3D object like Blitz, it's super easy. My tail's on my tapestry needle. I'm going to poke right through where our tail is. Make sure a couple inches through and poke out anywhere else. Don't pull too tight, you'll change the shape. And then you can cut this off. So now for it to come undone, it's going to have to come out multiple inches and through the knot and through the fastening off, and that's more unlikely. We have a body. Let's put our beak on so you can start to see our little shape. I'm going to take the longer of my tails, put it on my needle, figure out where I want it, which way I want it to face. I guess like that. And sew it. There's 1,000 different ways to sew on objects in crochet. My opinion, whatever gets the job done, whatever's easiest for you. I like to do whip stitches for birds for whatever reason. I just think they look better. And that's when I go like out and around and around. I'm not trying to hide the tail. I think it kind of gives it an extra little movement because the beak can now wiggle as opposed to like other methods of sewing. So I just go yellow to brown, yellow to brown, yellow to brown. Going around and around. Making sure it's tight. Okay, I can do one more on the side. I don't want my beak to be too wiggly. Okay, I'm gonna do one stitch underneath. Like right here. Through the beak, and then I'm gonna hide my tails. He looks so sad right now, hold on. Through the body. I wanna do the same thing with the other tail. If you wanna use this tail to sew as well, you can, or you could just hide it. I think he's pretty good. So I'm gonna hide his tail. Cut this off. If you notice that you can still see a little bit of brown on Blitz, you can stick it through with your scissors or needle or crochet hook, whatever you need. Sometimes kind of like rubbing and pinching kind of gets it off too. Now we're gonna make the wings. For our wings, we're gonna start the exact same way we did the body. We're gonna do a magic ring of 6 single crochets, then 6 increases, then 1 single crochet, 1 increase, and then 2 single crochets, 1 increase, and that's it. It is literally the exact same way you started the body. So we'll start with our magic ring. Our chain 1, and then 6 single crochets. Closing our magic ring. See, I told you my yarn is tight. Oof, it's so tight today. I have no idea why. I think this has been sitting in the sun or something. Then we're gonna do 6 increases. Remember, our increase is 2 single crochets in 1 stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Gonna put the marker back in. We'll do 1 single crochet and then an increase. If I'm going too fast, please pause the video and go back to the beginning where I go nice and slow. Again, we are doing the exact same way we started the body, all the way up to 2 single crochets, 1 increase. So you're just not going to do the rounds of single crochet that we did, just the beginning parts. Okay, I'm going to put my marker back in and do my last round of 2 single crochets and then an increase. So 1, 2, and an increase. 1, 2, increase. 1, 2, increase, all the way around. To finish off our piece, because this is a wing, we want it to be more round, and we worked on a spiral, so we kind of get these little steps. We're going to do 2 slip stitches. slip stitch is a small single crochet. So I'm going to insert my hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through again. That's it. And the next stitch, we'll do the same thing. Insert, yarn over, pull through. See, now it's more round. I'm going to cut a nice long tail and fasten off. Now we got a wing. You're going to be wanting to make 2 of these. So hiding your tails on a flat object is a little bit more difficult. This one will be super easy because we'll use it to sew. This guy's got nowhere to go. So I'm going to put it on my tapestry needle. The side he's sticking out is the back side. And I'm going to try to stick this between the stitches on the back. So I'm kind of going through, trying not to make it show on the front. I'm going one direction, pick another direction. It's okay if it's a little hard. Doesn't have to be perfect. It is the back side after all. And I like to do it 3 times in 3 different directions. So now if it has to come undone, it has to go a little crazy. And then we'll cut close to the base. We got a wing. Woohoo! Before I sew that on, I want to show you how to make the tail because it's even easier than the wings because it's 1 less round. We'll start the exact same way with our magic ring and 6 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're going to do 6 increases, exactly like we've been doing. This is not any different. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Put my marker in for our last round. 1 single crochet, 1 increase. Exact same thing we did for the wing and the body. 1 single crochet and an increase. Last one, single crochet, increase, and then I'm going to add my 2 slip stitches. 1 and 2. Fast enough. You will also weave that tail in the back. To sew our wing onto our body, put it on my tapestry needle. This will be the same for both wings and the tail. The wings will go on this side, the tail will obviously go on the back. I'm going to hold my wing wherever I think it looks best, and I'm going to follow it this way. So I want to make sure if it starts here, we're going to have some problems to get around here. So shift your tail start to where you want to be sewed. I'm only going to sew this top part because I like it to kind of flip around. And now I'm going to do that whip stitch. I'm going to go to the body, to the wing, body, to the wing. Make sure I pull nice and tight. This is super easy because it's all the same color. when the colors are different, like for my other bird projects, you have to be a little bit more precise, but yellow on yellow, no one's gonna see it anyway. I'm gonna do 1 or 2 more. Yeah, he's cute. I'm gonna hide our tails by sticking into the body and sticking out and fasten off. I'll do the exact same thing with the other wing, the tail, and I'll show you how to add the feet and the little puff of hair. I'm going to take a piece of scrap yarn and just cut off an amount. You're going to trim it, so don't worry. If it's too big or you think whatever, I put it through my tapestry needle. And I'm going to put this little needle with the scrap of yarn through our original magic ring. I'm then going to tie a knot on top. Pull nice and tight. Make sure it's straight. Trim some, not all the way yet. We're going to separate the strands. You can do this with the needle, your fingers, scissors as I'm doing. But you are going to separate the strands of yarn. And this kind of gives you that texture you're looking for. Depending on the yarn, sometimes they look fluffy like this, sometimes they look more stringy. It just depends on the type of yarn. Cute. I don't like this knot, so I'm going to stick the knot inside his body. Maybe. There we go. Inside his body. And then you can kind of trim this too if you want it taller. Well, not taller. If you want it shorter or more shaped and more triangular, whatever you'd like. For the feet, cut off a nice long piece of brown. Put it on our tapestry needle. I'm going to start on the bottom because that's where I want to hide it. And we'll point out to where the feet should go. A little bit more to the side. I like them under the eyes. We'll pull through, but leave about an inch or so on the bottom so we don't pull it all the way through. And we're just going to embroider little feet. I like to do mine as like 3 little straight lines. Sometimes it takes me a little bit to like where they're placed, like the angles of everything. I'll take it out and I'll do it again. So I get little feet. I like to go over mine twice so they're a little thicker. I like to make sure it's nice and lined up. And I literally just pull the yarn to do this. Get exactly where you want it. Yeah. Just like that. And then we'll do the same on the other side because he's got 2 feet. I try to match it up so it's on the same rows. Side ones. And then I'm going to go over it twice again. You don't have to go over it twice if you want a little skinnier look. I just like mine being a little thicker, but also depends what color I'm doing. Then I'll poke out on the bottom. So I'm happy with the feet, which I am. You can knot these. I'll be honest, I don't, and I've never had issues, but I don't want to promise you that you will never have issues. I'm going to stick my tails in Just make sure you don't trim your yarn too small, because then you're gonna have issues. But like I said, with our decreases on the bottom, you can't really see anything because he sits like that. I still need to add the other wing and the tail, but this is how you make Blitz the bird. I think he is pretty darn cute. Thank you so much for joining me today as we crocheted that little bird. I hope you had a great time making it. If you want to stay up to date on all Lousy Llama Creations things, I would follow us on TikTok at Lousy Llama Creations. That's where I post new kits, new patterns, everything new happening all goes on the TikTok. If you did like this video, please like and subscribe. It really helps Peanut and I grow the channel so that we can continue to make more tutorials for you. Again, my name is Kendall, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!